everyone, I'm Karandi, and today I'm asking, what is the best shonen for people who don't like shonen? As one of the most prolific and popular anime genres, sooner or later most anime viewers watch at least a couple of shonen anime. But what are the best ones for people who just aren't into them? If you were to do a search on Mal or any anime database for a list of the most popular anime, you are very likely to find the list heavily weighted towards anime that are labelled as shonen. While this isn't strictly speaking a genre, but is more a description of a target audience, a lot of people will use it as a genre label. What that means is that shonen is a label that actually has quite a diverse range of titles stacked underneath it. Though given they are all stories targeting a particular demographic, there are certainly some similarities to be found between titles. And that's probably why, when someone states that they don't like shonen, they probably aren't lying. However, their experience with these types of anime has probably been limited to a couple of the more obvious titles, usually involving fairly frequent fight sequences, training montages, and inevitable protagonists screaming in order to get a Deus Ex Machina power-up during a final battle sequence. Right, so we've probably clarified that there are definitely shonen anime that don't sit particularly well with me. That's hardly surprising, given I'm in my 30s and female, rather than the teenage male for whom most of these stories are produced. When pushed to describe favourite anime genres or types, I'd rarely list shonen, yet because I consume so much anime, it is inevitable that I've watched a lot of titles that fall into the category, and to be honest, some of them I've loved. Does that mean everyone has to enjoy shonen? Absolutely not. Some people just aren't going to bite or be interested regardless of the title you float their way. However, there are plenty of other anime fans who could be persuaded to give anime under this banner a go if you approach it the right way. Firstly, actually consider what it is they don't like about shonen anime. Is it because the protagonists are generally kind of loud and brash kids who kind of just rush headfirst into things and only later learn about the importance of some kind of moderation? That one is easily overcome by some careful anime selection. I'd solidly recommend Bakuman, which I included an entry for in my top 5 anime by JC staff list. Now, an anime about two boys who want to draw manga might not seem very shonen. However, despite a very real look at some of the trials of becoming famous mangaka, there's some solid rivalry built up between the protagonist and other budding creators. There's also a bit of romance and relationship drama thrown into the mix, and a lot of drama, as these characters strive to be the very best. However, and most importantly for your audience, there's very little shouting and screaming, as these characters compete with their hard work and creativity and not their fists or any particular magic powers. While this one isn't considered a legendary shonen anime by any means, when sorting the 1,995 shonen anime by score on Mal, the third season comes into 30th place, or it did when I looked in early February of 2021, and beat out season 3 of Attack on Titan. Another reason people often give for disliking shonen is that it's too mainstream. There isn't a lot you can do to counter this particular argument. You know, I had a friend when I was in school who refused to watch Titanic because it was too popular, and I never understood that particular argument. Certainly, things that are popular aren't always good, and they may not always work for you, but being popular doesn't automatically make something bad. That said, you could try finding a somewhat lesser known shonen title which isn't all that popular and see if they will bite. Something like Tegami Bachi might do the trick, given you have to go all the way into the 300 ranks of Mal to find this one. Now, Tegami Bachi, or Letter B, is actually a pretty impressive anime, given how little people speak about it. On that note, why haven't I reviewed that one yet? All up, for season 1 and 2, you are looking at 50 episodes, and the fairly epic story of Lag Seeing, who is delivering people's most important feelings in the form of letters in a very hostile world that is full of secrets. Some solid world building and interesting characters really make this one sing. And yes, you will find some fight sequences as these postal workers are dealing with worse things than the occasional loose dog. Still not unpopular enough, you say? Well, you could always venture into the 1000s. Although, I'm not going to vouch for what you'll find there, given the most of the anime seem to be spin-offs, specials, or overs of more popular shows, or in one fantastic case, a recap of the first 4 episodes of Darwin's Game. Well, you can't argue that it's too mainstream or popular. Okay. Following on from being too mainstream, Another common argument will be that shonen anime are just too long, which, if you look at any of the big hitters and the ones that people come back to again and again, they run into the hundreds of episodes, and the time commitment is a little too intense. Even rewatching Assassination Classroom with a friend from work, who is kinda casually into anime, has become something of an ordeal, as our watch has now spread into its second year despite being less than 50 episodes, as we can only really watch a handful of episodes in a sitting, and it is sometimes several weeks between viewings when we are both available for it. That said, we're committed, and we will finish our watch of Season 2 sometime this year, then we'll finally pick a new show that only has 11 episodes. Of course, as much as I understand the argument, I also see a really obvious way around it. Pick a shorter anime. What is their uppermost episode limit? Are we talking less than 100? You can still hit Full Metal Alchemist. Less than 50? Death Note, which tops the list of shonen anime in terms of members on Mal, comes in at 37. Less than 20? This gets a bit trickier, but not impossible. Actually, I just thought of the perfect show. 12 episodes, conclusive ending, a space adventure with a cute cast and a pretty good mystery that has a resolution that actually makes sense. Kanata no Astra, or Astra Lost in Space. It was one of my favourite seasonal anime when it aired, and it was an anime I binged watched with a friend fairly soon after, and it definitely held up to a second viewing. Basically, for whatever reason someone will give you for not liking shonen, you can almost always find something wearing the tag that avoids that particular mark. Whether they don't like the fan service, younger characters, even the violence, there are plenty of shonen anime out there that just might work for the non-shonen fan. I get that shonen anime is generally summed up with colourful pictures of the big three or similar anime, and the past few years have been dominated by Attack on Titan, Boruto, My Hero Academia, and of course, Black Clover, but there's a lot more to shonen than some people might expect. I'm still not going to go back and watch Black Clover though. Thanks for listening, and hopefully you have found a title that is going to help you out with your next shonen recommendation. Thanks for listening, and please check out the blog 100word anime.blog. See ya!